Well, welcome to this week's edition of Phoenix News, exclusively here on Phoenix TV. Not a great deal to report this week, but obviously we'll just have a quick recap over the midweek game in Nottingham, look forward to the weekend, bring you up to date on the toy appeal, and then a quick roundup of news from around the BMI Baby Elite League. Wednesday night action for the Manchester Phoenix saw them travel to the National Ice Centre in Nottingham, and despite a short bench, no Jeff McMillan, no Scott Bazic, against a full-strength Nottingham Panthers lineup with 20 players on their bench, unbelievably, including the two netminders, Phoenix only went down 2-0, a superb performance by Scott Fankhauser in goal, and tremendous battling performance because despite the 2-0 loss and despite being heavily outshot, Phoenix had their chances in that game. It was a brace of goals from Mark Levers that proved to be the difference between the two teams, but the Phoenix weren't disgraced, in fact far from it. They put up a valiant performance and actually hit the pipework 3 times with the score just at 1-0. If those had gone in, well, it could have been a totally different story. But it wasn't to be, and the Phoenix went down to a 2-0 loss. But even so, as we've said, tremendous result given the missing of Scott Bazic and Jeff McMillan. Looking forward to the weekend now, it's a back-to-back series against the Coventry Blaze away on Saturday in Sky Dome and then back to the Ice Dome in Altrincham on Sunday night. Both teams with injury worries for the weekend. The Coventry Blaze will be missing Curtis Huppy, who's out with a broken finger, and the Phoenix were kind of hoping that Sylvain Cloutier, the Blaze captain, wouldn't be icing, but it looks like he is. He's expected to have surgery on a hernia, but that's going to be put back till next week. So Cloutier will play for the Coventry Blaze in both games this weekend. Now, on the Phoenix standpoint, we're keeping our fingers crossed that Scott Bazic will be back. Jeff McMillan will train on Friday, but a decision will be made on Friday as to whether Jeff McMillan can return in either game for the weekend. But the more serious worry is Joe Tolari, the league's leading goal scorer still at this moment in time. Joe Tolari picked up a Charlie horse on Wednesday night in Nottingham, which for the uninitiated is a dead leg, and he was reported to be very stiff on Thursday. So there is a possibility that Joe Tolari won't ice this weekend, and that obviously would put the Phoenix somewhat short-handed. But we'll probably draft in Phil Hamer again. Matt Rich is likely to be on the bench. Whether they'll actually get any ice time or not remains to be seen, but it could be another backs-to-the-wall situation for the Phoenix this weekend. But we've already proven this year that backs-to-the-wall is one thing, getting overrun is another thing. We haven't been this year, and fingers crossed, whatever happens this weekend, you'll see a good performance from the Manchester Phoenix. Now, some good news surrounds the toy appeal that we've launched again this year for the Royal Manchester Children's Hospital. A fantastic response last weekend with the number of toys being received in excess of what we received the previous year. And we've still got 2 weekends to go. Toys can be donated on Sunday against Coventry and indeed the following Sunday against Basingstoke towards what will be another excellent day for the Phoenix players when they visit the Royal Manchester Children's Hospital, probably on Wednesday the 19th. It's always a good day to take some joy to the people, and particularly children who are in hospital at the wrong time of the year. So a fantastic response. Give yourselves a pat on the back for that. But if you've still got a present that you can give to the toy appeal, please bring it along on Sunday or on the 16th against Basingstoke. Now, a quick roundup of news from elsewhere around the league. And Paul Cabana has left the Hull Stingrays. He's had an opportunity to go to Germany, and so the Stingrays have had no option really but to let him go. The player wanted to go, and it's no point keeping someone who doesn't want to be with you. So Paul Cabana leaves the Hull Stingrays and he heads off to Germany. The Newcastle Vipers have released Czech defenceman Peter Kratky. He came in at the start of the year and put in some good performances for the Vipers early doors, but since suffering a broken wrist, hasn't returned to form, and Rob Wilson has released him with immediate effect this week. And the much rumoured return of Dan Tessier to the UK. Remember, Tessier was at Nottingham a couple of seasons ago, then he went to Sheffield and he started in Germany this year. Well, a lot of people have been putting money on it, or they would have done if a bookie had opened a book on it, that Tessier would return to the UK and probably to either the Steelers or the Panthers. That isn't happening. Dan Tessier signed for Kalamazoo in North America. It's not far from where he lives, so he's going to be home and close to his wife. Tessier not coming back to the UK. And well, there is a bit of a rumour coming out of Cardiff as well that they've got a serious injury worry, and it could possibly concern their #1 netminder, Phil Ozier. He was reported to be in some pain following their defeat in the Challenge Cup semi-final second leg to the Sheffield Steelers on Wednesday night. Understandably, though, the Devils are keeping rather quiet as to whether there is actually any truth in that rumour that Ozier could be hurt. And following Wednesday night's second leg of the semi-final, the Challenge Cup final now is between the Sheffield Steelers and Nottingham Panthers. Panthers, of course, overcame the Newcastle Vipers 5-4 and 5-1 in their two legs, whereas the Steelers 2-0 shutout of the Cardiff Devils on Wednesday just endorsed their 4-4 tie down in Cardiff the previous week. So it's the Steelers versus the Panthers in the Challenge Cup final. What wouldn't the Phoenix have done to be in that position? Well, that's it for this week's Roundup here on Phoenix News. As always, thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next week. Bye-bye.